What if I told you that inside every single living thing, there's a tiny, bustling city? That's what we're talking about today. We're going to explore the cell, the absolute fundamental building block of life, by imagining it as its own little metropolis.
Just take a second and think about it. For a city to function, you need a government, factories, power plants, a delivery service, border control. All these different parts have to work together perfectly. It's an incredibly complex system.
Well, that's a cell. It's that exact same level of complexity, just shrunk down to a microscopic scale. So for the next few minutes, let's take a tour of this tiny city and see how all the parts fit together. And our first stop? Well, it has to be City Hall. Okay, here we are at the command center, the brain of the whole operation. Welcome to City Hall. So the nucleus is the cell's big boss. It holds all the DNA, which is basically the master blueprint, with the instructions for literally everything the cell does, from growing and eating to reproducing. Yeah, just like a real city hall holds the plans for the city and sends out all the directives, that's what the nucleus does for the cell. Every single order starts right here. But plans from City Hall are pretty useless if there's no one around to actually carry them out. So, those orders get sent to the industrial heart of the cell, the factory floor, where all the action happens. And this is where we meet the ribosomes. These little guys are the construction crew. They take the instructions sent from the nucleus and use them to build proteins, the tools, the building blocks, and the machinery the cell needs to survive. So you can think of the ribosomes as thousands of tiny, tireless workers on an assembly line, just churning out all the essential goods that keep the city growing and in good repair. So where do these little workers do their jobs? A lot of them are stationed on the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER for short. It's this massive, sprawling network of membranes. The rough ER gets its name because it's studded with all those ribosome workers, while the smooth ER handles other jobs, like making lipids, which are basically fats and oils. The ER is basically the city's main industrial park. It's both the factory floor where proteins are put together and the internal highway system that starts moving them around. All right, so once the protein is made, it's not quite finished. It needs to be modified, packaged up, and addressed for shipping. And that's the job of the Golgi bodies, which you might also hear called the Golgi apparatus. This is the city's central post office and shipping center, all in one. The Golgi takes those new proteins, puts the finishing touches on them, packages them up neatly, and slaps on a shipping label so they get to exactly the right address, whether that's somewhere else in the cell or outside of it entirely. So let's quickly recap that whole production line. City Hall, the nucleus, sends out the blueprint. The workers, the ribosomes, build the product on the factory floor, which is the ER. And then finally, the post office, the Golgi, packages it up and ships it out. It's a really beautiful, seamless system. Of course, no city can run without power, and you need some space for everything to happen. So let's go check out the cell's essential infrastructure. I'm sure you've heard this one before, right? The mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. And it's true. Their job is to take in nutrients and convert them into usable energy in the form of a molecule called ATP. You can think of ATP as the cell's battery packs. And the power plant analogy is perfect for a reason. Without the mitochondria working around the clock, the entire city would just shut down. No power means no factories, no transport, nothing. Now, what's holding all of this stuff, City Hall, the factories, the power plant, together? Well, that would be the cytoplasm. It's this jelly-like fluid that fills the entire cell and suspends everything in place. And it's so much more than just empty space. The cytoplasm is the entire landscape of our city. It's the ground everything's built on. It's the air. It's the canals everything travels through. It's the very stage where life in the city happens. Okay, every good city needs its borders and a way to control what's coming and going. Let's head to the perimeter of our cell city. The entire city is surrounded by the cell membrane. The key phrase to remember here is selectively permeable, which is just a sciencey way of saying it's a very, very picky gatekeeper. It doesn't just let anyone or anything wander in. This is the ultimate security system. It's constantly checking IDs, letting in good things like nutrients, letting out waste products, and most importantly, keeping dangerous things out. Without this border control, the whole city would be in chaos. But here's the cool thing. Not all cities are built alike. Animal cell cities have that flexible border membrane we just talked about. But plant cell cities, they're more like fortified castles. They have a super rigid cell wall outside the membrane for extra strength and support. Plus, they have a few extra facilities, like chloroplasts, which are basically solar power plants that make their own food, and a huge water tower called a central vacuole to store supplies. So, we've toured the city, we've seen how all these incredible, specialized parts work together in perfect harmony. So, why is understanding this so important? Well, when you zoom out and look at the whole system, it's just incredible. You've got City Hall, the nucleus, running the show. The power plant, the mitochondria, keeping everything running. The factory workers, the ribosomes, building everything it needs. And the city border, the cell membrane, keeping it all safe. Every single part has a vital job to do. And that really brings us to the final mind-blowing thought. Your body is made of trillions of these tiny cities all working together. It's a level of organization that is just staggering to think about. And it begs the question, what happens when just one part fails? If the power plant in one city goes down, or the post office starts sending packages to the wrong address, what does that mean for the whole system?